Soft piano music fades in. The morning light filtered through torn curtains, casting shadows across a small apartment where silence held its breath. Maya sat in the corner of her bedroom, her 3-month-old daughter, Amara, sleeping peacefully in a bassinet nearby. The baby's tiny chest rose and fell with perfect rhythm, innocent, unaware, untouched by the storm raging inside her mother's soul. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at them. 26 years old, and she barely recognized herself anymore. Chapter 1. The Fall. It started innocently enough. A prescription after a difficult C-section. The pain had been unbearable, and the pills made everything manageable. More than manageable, they made her feel like she could breathe again after months of prenatal anxiety and fear. Just until the pain subsides, the doctor had said. But the pain never really subsided. Or maybe it did, and Maya just couldn't remember what it felt like to exist without that chemical comfort. One prescription became two. Two became borrowed pills from a friend. Borrowed became bought, and bought became the only thing that mattered. Her husband, James, worked double shifts at the hospital, ironically, as a paramedic saving lives while his own family crumbled at home. He'd noticed the signs, the drowsiness, the mood swings, the way Maya would disappear into the bathroom for longer and longer stretches. "Are you okay?" he'd asked one night, genuine concern etched across his tired face. "I'm fine," she'd lied, the words tasting like ash. "Just exhausted. You know how it is with a newborn." He wanted to believe her. It was easier that way. Chapter 2. The Mirror. The turning point came on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya had just fed Amara, her daughter's tiny fingers wrapped around her thumb with complete trust. As she burped the baby, Maya caught her reflection in the bedroom mirror. She didn't recognize the woman staring back. Hollow eyes, sunken cheeks, skin that had lost its glow. But worse than her physical appearance was what she saw behind her eyes, absence. She was there but not there, present but absent, a ghost haunting her own life. Amara began to cry, a soft whimper that grew into a wail. Maya stood, swaying slightly, and walked to place her daughter in the bassinet. As she bent down, a wave of dizziness hit her. She stumbled, catching herself on the edge of the furniture, but the terror of what could have happened crashed over her like ice water. I almost dropped her. The thought paralyzed her. Her precious daughter, her reason for breathing, had almost fallen because of her mother's choices. Maya sank to the floor, pulling her knees to her chest, and for the first time in months, she let herself feel the full weight of what she'd become. Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. That night, James came home to find Maya sitting at the kitchen table. Every pill bottle she owned lined up in front of her like soldiers awaiting judgment. "I need help," she whispered, the words breaking on her lips. "I can't do this anymore. I can't be this person." James stood frozen in the doorway, his medical bag still on his shoulder. In his line of work, he'd responded to hundreds of overdoses, talked dozens of addicts through their worst moments. But this was different. This was his wife, the woman he'd promised to build a life with. He crossed the room in 3 strides and dropped to his knees beside her, pulling her into his arms as she finally, truly, broke open. "We'll figure this out," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Together, I'm not going anywhere." Chapter 4. The Climb. Recovery wasn't a straight line. It was a mountain with false peaks and hidden valleys, with days that felt like victory and days that felt like drowning. Maya entered an outpatient program that specialized in helping mothers with substance use disorders. There, she met other women who understood the specific hell of loving your child more than anything, while simultaneously being your own worst enemy to that love. There was Carmen, a single mother of 2 who'd lost custody but was fighting to get her children back. There was Yuki, whose pristine exterior hid years of prescription dependence. There was Fatima, who'd nearly died from an overdose in her daughter's nursery. They were all different. They were all the same. In group therapy, Maya learned to speak the truths she'd been swallowing. She learned that addiction wasn't a moral failing, but a disease that required treatment, not judgment. She learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. It was the bravest thing she'd ever done. "Your daughter doesn't need a perfect mother," her therapist, Dr. Chen, told her during one session. "She needs a present one, a real one, a mother who's willing to fight for her own wellness so she can show up for her child." Chapter 5. The Support. James became her anchor, but he also learned he couldn't be her only support. He joined a support group for families of people in recovery, where he learned about codependency, enabling, and the difference between helping and rescuing. Maya's mother flew in from across the country, temporarily moving into their guest room to help with Amara while Maya attended her program. Their relationship had always been complicated, but crisis has a way of burning away the superficial and leaving only what matters. "I should have seen the signs," her mother said one evening as they prepared dinner together. "I hid them well," Maya replied, chopping vegetables with focused precision. "I was ashamed. I thought you'd judge me." Her mother set down the pot she was holding and turned to face her daughter. "Maya, I judge myself every day for the ways I wasn't there for you growing up. I was too focused on my career, too absent. Maybe that's part of why." "Mom, stop." Maya placed a hand on her mother's arm. "This is my responsibility, not yours, not James's. Mine. The only way I get through this is by owning it." Chapter 6. The Emilias 30 days clean. Maya celebrated by taking Amara to the park, truly present for the first time since her daughter's birth. She watched the clouds drift overhead and listened to her baby's delighted coos as she discovered her own fingers. 60 days clean. Maya attended her first recovery meeting where she wasn't a newcomer, and she shared her story with a woman who just walked in that morning, terrified and broken. 90 days clean. Amara smiled for the first time, a real, genuine, soul-lighting smile, and Maya was there, fully there, to witness it. 6 months clean. Maya returned to her career as a graphic designer, working from home part-time. Creating again felt like rediscovering a lost language. 1 year clean. Maya stood before her recovery group, holding her 1-year chip, and spoke about the journey from that dark apartment floor to this moment of standing in her own light. Chapter 7. The Reality. But recovery wasn't all milestones and breakthroughs. There were hard days. Days when the cravings felt like fire under her skin. Days when she had to white-knuckle her way through anxiety that made her want to crawl out of her body. There was the day Amara spiked a fever, and Maya's first instinct was to panic, not about her daughter's health, but about whether she could handle the stress without using. She called her sponsor instead, talking through the terror until she could breathe again. There was the birthday party, where someone casually offered her a glass of wine, not knowing her story, and she had to navigate the awkward explanation while battling the internal voice that whispered, "One drink won't hurt." There was the moment she overheard another mother at the playground talking about the drug addicts who shouldn't be allowed to have children. And Maya had to hold her head high, knowing that woman was talking about people like her, never imagining the recovering addict was standing right beside her. Recovery meant facing these moments without armor, learning to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it away. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. On Amara's first birthday, Maya sat down and wrote her daughter a letter, one she'd give her someday, when she was old enough to understand. "My darling Amara, on the day you were born, I thought I knew what love was. I was wrong. Love isn't just the overwhelming feeling of wanting to protect someone. It's the daily choice to show up, even when showing up is the hardest thing in the world. For the first months of your life, I wasn't fully present. I was battling demons I didn't know how to face, and in my attempt to escape my own pain, I nearly destroyed the most precious thing in my life, our relationship. I want you to know that my addiction was never about you. You were and are perfect. It was about me, my pain, my inability to cope with the overwhelming nature of becoming a mother while carrying unhealed wounds from my own past. I'm writing this to tell you that people are complex. We are not our worst moments, but we are accountable for them. I will spend the rest of my life showing you what it means to fall down and get back up, to fail and to grow, to be human and to be brave. Recovery has taught me that the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And my connection with you, my beautiful girl, is what saved my life. Forever your mother. Maya. Chapter 9. The Ripples. Maya's recovery created ripples that extended far beyond her immediate family. She began volunteering at the recovery center that had helped her, offering peer support to newly arrived mothers who were where she'd been a year ago. She started a blog called The Unfiltered Mother, where she wrote honestly about addiction, recovery, and the messy reality of motherhood. Her vulnerability gave others permission to be vulnerable too. The blog grew, reaching thousands of mothers who'd felt alone in their struggles. She and James went to couples therapy, rebuilding their relationship from the ground up. They learned to communicate without blame, to support without enabling, to love without losing themselves in the process. Her relationship with her mother deepened in ways Maya hadn't thought possible. They talked about generational trauma, about the expectations placed on mothers, about the ways society sets women up to fail and then judges them for failing. Chapter 10. The Present. 2 years into recovery, Maya watched Amara take her first steps in their living room. James was recording on his phone, tears streaming down his face, while Maya's mother cheered from the couch. Maya knelt on the floor, arms outstretched, as her daughter toddled toward her with determined concentration. When Amara reached her mother and collapsed into her arms with delighted laughter, Maya held her close and whispered, "I'm here, baby girl. I'm really here." And she was. Recovery hadn't made her perfect. She still had hard days. She still attended therapy and support group meetings. She still worked her program daily, knowing that complacency was the enemy of continued wellness. But she was present. She was honest. She was fighting for herself and her family every single day. Closing scene. The piano music returns, softer now, hopeful. Maya stood in front of her bathroom mirror, the same mirror where she'd once failed to recognize herself. But this time, when she looked at her reflection, she saw someone she knew, someone she was proud of, someone who'd walked through fire and emerged scarred but stronger. From the nursery, she heard Amara beginning to wake from her nap, making the soft, cooing sounds that meant she'd...
The end of The Weight of Tomorrow. Do well to follow and share.